Welcome to the Elevate the Vibe podcast, bringing you juicy convos with thought leaders discussing the wild world of parenting. Well, hello, Vibe Hive. Welcome to another episode of the Elevate the Vibe podcast. We are here today with a solo episode to talk about mom guilt, or in this case, just parent guilt. Now, if you are a parent, even if you're a pet parent, maybe even a plant parent, you've experienced this where you feel like you always want to do more. No matter what you do, you feel like it's not enough. And regardless if you are a working parent or a stay-at-home parent, it just, it's like, how do we make this work? How do I find the balance? How do I ensure that I feel as if I'm showing up for my children each day in the way that they need? And we don't know if there really is an answer to that. Unfortunately, it seems like no matter what path you're choosing, you're always sort of straddling this feeling of like, am I doing enough? Am I not doing enough? And we want to dive into some tactics that between the two of us we use to try to help us prioritize and really figure out when we are spending time with our children, how can we make the most of it?
It's an endless quest for balance, really. So, Katie, what do you got?
All right. So first I want to talk about our schedule. So both Jason and I work. We are working parents. We're very fortunate that we are working from home. Prior to the pandemic, I did work from home because I started my own business. I left corporate world to do what I do in corporate, but just do it from home. And then post-pandemic, Jason has been here, which has been really nice. We do have a dedicated home office, which is also nice. That allows us that space to like close the door. It makes it feel very much like when we're working. And we do have that boundary. We are very fortunate that we also have a nanny, and honestly, we could probably use two. We have talked about getting a second nanny, but this is where my mom guilt comes into play and doesn't allow me to get a second nanny. Because as most of you know, regardless if you're working or even if you're not working, the to-do list never ends. You are never done with your work. You are never done with your to-do list, and you could let that run your life because it is endless. It is seemingly endless. And I could sit here probably for the next 3 weeks straight answering emails, and I will never be done. I will not even be close, because businesses don't stop.
Businesses are 24/7.
All right. So with this being said, this is how we've created a little bit of a boundary and a schedule to help us counteract that guilt. Now, this is just what works for us, so please take this with a grain of salt. But how we have finagled our schedules is that I'm very fortunate as a consultant. I don't necessarily have quote unquote office hours, but I do have clients that I need to balance.
Demanding clients.
And they have expectations.
High expectations.
So basically I'm dreaming of ways to solve their problems during sleep hours. But really, as soon as I wake up, I am kind of like turning on to focus on business. I'll skip like morning routine type of process that I have. But I start first. So I'm in the office. I'm already working. Between when I'm up and before the nanny arrives, our nanny arrives at 10 a.m. And
what you forgot to mention was that Dad gets up with the kids.
Well, I'm getting there. I'm getting there. So between that time before our nanny arrives, which is 10 a.m., Jason is the one who handles taking on the kids in the morning. And that includes also like making breakfast, because Jason begins at 10. So the nanny arrives around 9:50. That morning time is really Jason's one-on-one time with the kids. Like
2-on-1, really.
That's when he's prioritizing spending time with them. He's not on his phone thinking about work, spending hours scrolling social media. Sure, there are other like random check-ins that you do with like, your emails in the morning, or just a few things, but that's your time. That's when you're dedicated and focused. And why don't you talk a little bit about what you do with them in the morning?
I mean, we generally wake up at around 6:15. After 7, if we're lucky, maybe every couple weeks we'll get that. We just had that today, so that was awesome. And man, those are great days. But yeah, I'll get up at 6:15, usually with G or Sammy, and then we will go downstairs. I'll throw Sammy on the counter. He'll eat a couple dates and like a little chicken sausage and a waffle. I'll make food for him while G will play in her little seat with some sliced apples, and then we'll head over to the playground for about an hour, and usually there's nobody there, which is dope, because it's nice. Sammy's a little shy, so he has more fun with the playground if nobody's there. But anyways, we come back at around 9 or so, and I make breakfast for Shug. Sometimes she eats it, sometimes she doesn't. She likes to have fruit first, and I like to have, eggs, pancakes, whatever it is, bacon, immediately upon returning. But anyways, yeah, so I make the breakfast and just keep the kids wrangled in, and then the nanny comes around 9:50. Meanwhile, I'm checking Slack, I'm checking emails to make sure there's no fires I need to put out. And then, yeah, Katie and I are basically tied to the machines, from 10 o'clock for a while.
So then throughout the day, of course, like I'm still nursing our baby. So I am hanging out with her. I sometimes put her to sleep for nap or naps. We are hanging out with our kids. Our nanny does need a break to eat food and also just to keep her sanity so that she wants to stay working here. And during that time, we'll sit with the kids. We eat lunch. We're not on our phones trying to take phone calls. Like we really are trying to spend that like 15, 30 minutes with them undivided during the day. Then the nanny leaves at 5. And from 5 until 7, I mean, this can get a little dicey because the work day doesn't really end at 5, but I am trying to do a better job of kind of cutting off then to be able to spend that hour and a half, 2 hours with them before Jason finishes. Jason finishes at 7.
Generally around 7, sometimes at 8, depending on the project.
And yeah, so I mean, this is definitely not perfect. There are days when both of us have been working until 7 p.m. and we just try to figure it out with the kids, like play outside and we'll keep an eye on you. And
not the baby, but Sam.
Yeah, little baby hang out in here. Sometimes maybe
Yeah.
she'll take a later nap and she'll still be sleeping so we can get that work in.
There's a good portion of luck that goes into our schedule for sure.
Yeah, and this is why we were talking about we have considered hiring a second nanny, but I personally want to be better about just taking the time, because you can just get sucked into the vortex of work and never get out of it. And that feels, then you look back at your day and you're like, man, I don't feel like I spend enough time with the kids. So the last 2 days, I'm very proud of myself. I have been out with the kids at the playground, taking them out of the house for about an hour from like 5:30 to 6:30, and that feels good, and I feel a little bit more balanced. And yes, maybe I've had a phone call or I've had to answer text or an email while we're out, but at least I'm with them. I am focused on them. We're getting out, we're enjoying, and I feel a little bit less guilty.
Right on.
Another trick that I just started this week, so we'll see how it goes. Today was really the first day, and I can say that I didn't necessarily get off to like a running start, a great start with this, but it's something that I plan to continue over time and work it in so it's almost like muscle memory. But I heard this from an author, and the idea is using the rule of 3 for prioritization. As I mentioned, those to-do lists are endless. It's like no matter how much you check off, no matter how much you cross off your to-do list, you can just keep adding more. And that at the end of the day can leave you feeling guilty or like you haven't accomplished a lot or like you've fallen behind or just you're not doing enough. And that can parlay into, being a parent and life with your children as well. So the rule of 3 is creating 3 priorities for your business that you need to complete each day and 3 priorities for your personal life that you need to complete each day. So if that is for my business, I need to work on these 3 projects. And as long as I get that started or completed, I feel okay. Like maybe it's not inbox 0, but I feel great about that. Now, on the personal side, that could be not scrolling social media when you've designated 30 minutes to be with your children, or paying that bill that you need to pay, whatever it may be. I mean, whatever the personal is. But I really want to try to implement this, because I think when you spin your wheels mentally and spend time mulling over situations or scenarios that either haven't been completed, or just it's like your brain power, your focus, if it's not narrowed and honed in on what you're doing in that moment, that's, I think, a lot of times where the guilt comes in. You're not being fully present. And this is hard because life is complicated and there's a lot coming at us all the time. People are emailing you, DMing you, texting you. So you're getting a lot of inbound distractions, and we have more at our fingertips than we've ever had before. So that's a lot of outbound distraction too. Like, you want to load up your Amazon cart, you want to, XYZ. So something that Jason and I are going to be working on over the next several weeks, we kind of took inventory of our life and said, where do we spend a lot of time and energy and effort on something that seems to be more complicated than it needs to be? And we determined that was meal planning and meal prep. So as I mentioned, we both work from home now. When we were in offices or in the corporate world, it was a little different because Jason would escape out every day for lunch and head to lunch with his coworkers. It's an important part of his job to continue to network. So that's something that it's a business expense, and that's important for him. For me, when I was in the corporate world, I either bring food, whatever it may be. Now that we're both from home, that's one more additional meal that we really have to think about and prioritize. Plus, we have our children. We're thinking about their food. It's like, how much time and energy are we putting into this? And we're not quite financially at a place where you could hire a full-time chef. I
Quite. No.
I would love that.
Soon.
But the chef would probably be like
Chef Boyardee up in here.
Yeah, right. That's about the full-time chef.
Want some raviolis?
Yeah, right. That we have on our.
He's got to be pretty old.
Payroll.
He's got to be like pushing 120 right now.
I mean, long live Chef Boyardee.
Long live
whatever.
him, yeah.
Not in my house. I don't really want his food here, but long live on the shelves of Vaughn's and Ralph's and wherever else you pick up Chef Boyardee.
Yes.
But we decided what we're going to do. We're going to begin this. We actually did this several months ago, and it worked very well for us. Was meal planning a month in advance. So each month we're going to put together just a little framework of what our meals will be. We already order our groceries on Amazon, so we're not heading into the grocery store each week. So this is just automated. Our mental space will be freed up. We'll know how much food we need to order to cover. We make a dinner, and that we'll make double it so that we eat our leftovers the next day for lunch. And it's like, that's just time that we're not going to spend thinking about this. And then we can be more present with our children and be more present with our jobs or whatever it may be. So we don't carry that guilt around of like, I'm not doing enough. I wish I had more time. We don't have all the solutions, but we're going to put this back in motion again to really help clean up that mental space. And those small changes make a big difference in how you focus your energy and your time in your life. All right. So now that we've given you a speed round of like strategies and tactics that we're implementing to help us focus and free up that mental space so that we can enjoy the time with our children and we're not thinking about what we're making for dinner while we're supposed to be sitting there playing with them and enjoying our time with them. We do have an interesting idea. Now, this is sort of like fantasy, but when thinking about this episode, I was thinking about this and if this was a possibility for people in this world, would you jump on it? So if you are a parent and you had the opportunity to be paid a salary for staying at home to watch your children. So let's say that it's more like, entry level salary, Like, let's say that it's like you're getting paid $40,000 per year per child to watch your children up to the age of 6 when they start going to school.
How many children?
Let's say 3 kids.
Okay.
So max, you could be making $120,000 a year to be a stay-at-home parent. Let's say, 2, 3, and 5-year-old. Would you choose to work still? Or would you choose to stay at home with your children?
I would stay at home. I definitely would. That's me.
See, and this is where my mom guilt becomes like compounding, is that I would probably still choose to work. Because that part of my brain needs to be stimulated and I enjoy it. And it's like, not that I don't enjoy spending time with the children, but it's like, for me, it's not necessarily about the money so much, but I don't know. But then at the same time, I'm like, well, shit, we could kick it on the beach and I'd be making $120 for just kicking it on the beach.
I mean,
like,
my brain cells already dipped out after college and a lot of drumming and editing now. So, I mean, I don't really need to use them anymore. So I could use the last ones and miseducating the kids on protozoas and flagellums at the beach.
It's the nucleus and mitochondria, okay?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I knew it. See, I messed it up.
And the center of the man is his nucleus.
Yeah, watch out for the cell walls, right?
If anybody can name that movie, I'll be impressed.
Yeah, I have no idea what movie
It was from Nacho Libre. I just,
Ah.
All right. But anyway, we want to know, Vibe Hive. I'm going to put this on our Instagram post. If you could be paid that salary instead of working and watching your own children, would you opt in for that? Would you go for it? Or would you still want to work in some capacity? And does that give you guilt? Like, do you feel guilty? Like, I feel guilty saying it. I do. I don't necessarily feel guilty for a lot in life, but this is hard. Like, this is a hard thing because your children are only young for a short period of time and you don't get that time back.
Yeah.
You know what? I'll probably listen to this episode again in 10 years and be like, what the fuck was I talking about?
Or you might be saying, man, I'm glad I just kept working. Jeez, those kids.
Yeah, maybe. Like, it gave me some level of sanity. I don't know.
Yeah.
My eye's twitching right now, so I don't think.
Yeah, you got like 6 work emails while we've been recording this.
It's also, just for reference, it's already 9:30 at night and my emails are still going strong. Popping. All right. So Vibe Hive, let us know. We'd love to hear what you think. Enlighten us. It's a tough combo. There's no right or wrong here. But thank you for joining us again to Elevate the Vibe.
Peace.